Hi everybody, this is Svetlana and I'm glad to see you in our webinar, The Power of Visualization. Please write +1 in our chat if you hear me, so I know that I'm not alone here. Okay, hi, yeah. I see you writing. So everything is fine. Let me introduce myself. I'm Agile Coach at Luxoft Agile Practice, and I do Agile transformations mostly for projects and programs, and also I do career coaching services. And when I work with people, I always try to communicate information in convenient and understandable way. And I think that visualization is very helpful for this purpose. That is why I'm interested in data visualization approaches, and I would like to share with you information that I have found out about this topic. So, what we will do during our session? We will discuss why visualization is worth doing, when it can be helpful and for whom. We will also learn the main formats of data visualization. I will provide examples on each format and suggestions how you can use it and at your daily work. After this, I will tell a few words about my unsuccessful experience in drawing and what lessons I learned out of it. I will also share with you more than 10 tips of graphic facilitation that you can use, for example, when making group notes or creating meetings follow-ups. We will also consider the benefits of color coding and get familiar with a free tool which I used to design the infographic for webinar announcement. Probably you have saw it on Luxoft or LinkedIn groups. So, why to visualize? According to researchers, 55–60% of people prefer to perceive information visually. The percentage can vary among men and women as between children and adults. But nevertheless, the visual learning style takes the majority in all categories. So people like to be taught visually. The people who prefer visual style of learning think in pictures, and that is why it is easier for them to perceive the information in a graphical way. And let's watch a short video explaining who are these people, and maybe you even recognize yourself in these people, in people who prefer to learn visually. Just give me a second.
Here's a question. Do you sometimes have difficulty remembering people's names, but you're great at remembering their faces? Or maybe you're really good at moving odd-shaped furniture around corners, or packing your car full with so much stuff everyone told you it was going to be impossible. If so, you might just be a visual thinker. How about this? Try and remember an event from your past. What happens? Do you find yourself remembering something fuzzy like the significance or emotion or mood around that event? Or do you remember specific scenes and images? For some people, it turns out that images and spatial relationships seem to dominate their thinking process. Basically, they think in pictures. It's thought that upwards of 60% of people are in this category, and it's a continuum, not all or none. Some people just think this way more than others. For example, for some people, and this might be you, a messy desk isn't a problem at all. You know where everything is, but you know where it is in relation to everything else. So when someone comes along and cleans that desk up, supposedly helping you organize, you completely feel lost and you can't find anything. The same sort of spatial thinking that helps you navigate a messy desk can be incredibly powerful. The chess grandmaster Bobby Fischer said that he could see all of the pieces on the chessboard even when it wasn't in front of him, which allowed him to practice and play in his head. Nikola Tesla, a pretty amazing inventor, took this one step further and said he was able to build and rebuild complicated machines in his mind and then run them to see where the moving parts could potentially fail. When he was only 24 years old, the inventor Thomas Edison described his experience this way: "I have innumerable machines in my mind now, which I shall continue to illustrate and describe day by day when I have the spare time." But this kind of thinking, visual thinking, sometimes comes with a price. Namely, it can be hard to communicate what you're thinking to other people. Maybe you've had this experience where you see something pretty clearly in your head, but you wind up needing to draw it to explain it to someone else. Albert Einstein often said words failed him to describe the images in his head, but it turned out that those images were the key to unlocking the secrets of the universe. It was after he envisioned a man riding a wave of light that he was able to construct his theory of relativity. James Clerk Maxwell, the mathematical physicist, had a similar experience. His colleagues urged him to show the relationship between energy, entropy, and volume using equations, which is how they best communicated ideas. Instead, he used clay and plaster to show the relationship in the way that he understood it, as a physical and visual form of thermodynamics. And that's the power of visual metaphors. They allow people to see complex relationships in new, relatively simple ways. And the history of invention and discovery is filled with those kind of stories. For example, Auguste Kekulé unlocked a new way of thinking about the structure of molecules when he envisioned a snake eating its own tail. In that moment, he realized that the bonds in the molecule benzene formed a ring. And this led to a whole new way of understanding how molecules could be visualized. And that's ultimately the challenge that visual thinkers face. How do you get those images out of your head and into the real world as inventions or discoveries? It's also why right now is such an exciting time for people who think like this. The digital age has brought technology that allows visual thinkers to directly experiment with the forms that they're best at understanding. Visual thinkers can now fold complex proteins on the screen or use 3D printers to build almost any form they can imagine. And they can invent and play in virtual reality spaces that just couldn't exist in the real world. It's a good time to be a visual thinker. So next time you forget the names of streets on a route that you can navigate with ease, don't beat yourself up. You might just be the next genius inventor of our time. What?
Before we continue, could we please check the audio once again? Could you please write in chat that if you hear me, +1, because I'm getting in chat notice that someone can't hear me. So let's see. Okay, so audio is okay. So if somebody doesn't hear me, please switch your headset on or do something with your headset, because majority can hear me, and that is good. So we saw a video about visual thinking style, and we also got information that there are lots of visual thinkers among us, and probably the reason for this is because the bandwidth of visual channel is much more wider. Moreover, according to researchers, our brain processes visual 60-100 times faster than text. And probably because of this, visual learning is so attractive and so easy. A well-known data designer, David McCandle, says, "I feel that every day all of us now are being blasted by information design. It is being poured into our eyes through the web, and we are all visualizers now. We are all demanding a visual aspect to our information. There is something almost quite magical about data information. It is effortless. It literally pours in." This guy wrote several books on this topic and regularly speaks publicly. And I highly recommend you to show his video on TED.com. I will provide this video in the follow-up for the webinar, and I also would like to show you a small piece of this video where he is discussing the visualization of eating supplements. It is very attractive and it is interactive. So let's see it.
I'm a bit of a health nut. I love kind of like taking supplements and being fit, but I can never understand what's going on in terms of evidence. There's always conflicting evidence. Should I take vitamin C? Should we take in wheatgrass? So this is a visualization of all the evidence for nutritional supplements. This kind of diagram is called a balloon race. So the higher up the image, the more evidence there is for each supplement. And the bubbles correspond to popularity as regards to Google hits. So you can kind of immediately apprehend the relationship between efficacy and popularity. But you can also, if you grade the evidence, sort of do a worth it line. And so supplements above this line are worth investigating, but only for the conditions listed below. And then supplements below the line are perhaps not worth investigating. Now this image constitutes a huge amount of work. We scraped like 1,000 studies from PubMed, the biomedical database, and we compiled them and graded them all. And it was incredibly frustrating for me because I had a book of 250 visualizations to do for my book, and I spent a month doing this, and I'd only filled 2 pages. But what it points to is that visualizing information like this is a form of knowledge compression. It's a way of squeezing an enormous amount of information and understanding into a small space. And once you've curated that data, and once you clean that data, and once it's there, you can do cool stuff like this. So I converted this into an interactive app. So I can now generate this application online, this visualization online. And I can say, yeah, brilliant. So it spawns itself. And then I can say, well, just show me the stuff that affects heart health. So let's filter that out. So heart is filtered out, so I can see if I'm curious about that. I think, no, I don't want to take any synthetics. I just want to see plants and just show me herbs and plants. There we go, all the natural ingredients. Now this app is spawning itself from the data. The data is all stored in a Google Doc, and it's literally generating itself from that data. So the data is now alive. This is a living image, and I can update it in a second. New evidence comes out. I just change a row on a spreadsheet. Douche. Again, the image recreates itself. So it's cool. It's kind of living.
So I highly recommend you to watch all this talk on TED.com. He's providing great examples of different visualizations together with describing how he created it. So now let's discuss general patterns of visualization that you can apply to a daily work. This model called Ledge, provides the general information about approaches to visualization. And this model was designed by Richard Woolman, one of the first information architects, claimed that there are only 5 ways to organize information, not 50, not 500, but only 5. He called his model of data representation Ledge, that stands for location, alphabet, time, category, and hierarchy. There are lots of supporters of this model, and there are certain skeptics about it who say that it is possible to organize data in more than 5 ways, but I personally find Ledge model quite convenient and worth discussing. And let's discuss the first pattern. It is location. And as you can see, the location category is great when you need to map some information. It can be used to present locations of team members, for instance, in distributed teams, or offices of the company that is spread all over the world. Actually, I saw a similar map in Kyiv office near the reception, there is a map of Luxoft offices distribution all over the world, and it looks quite good. One more possible application of this pattern can be a sit-in plan. It can be used for sit-in plans of employees or guest location on some events. So it is also quite helpful to visualize the information in this way. The next category in Ledge model is alphabet. This approach improves visual search over elements of some system. When you prepare a long list of some items in reports or on applications interface, it can be helpful to organize it alphabetically. One more category is time in Ledge model. And when you need to show a process that happens during a certain period of time, it is great format to use. Also, when you have a set of due dates to communicate, it is better to organize it on a timeline, so that one can see which item is coming after which item. One more example of timeline. You can also combine the Ledge model elements with one another. As you see on this picture, there is a timeline at the bottom, and the content is allocated accordingly in categories. And category is the fourth element of Ledge model. So here is one more example of categories. The last but not the least item of Ledge is a hierarchy approach of data organization, and it is widely used for organizations, programs, project chat creations. There are lots of it, and I am sure you have seen it, and probably it is very good when next time you would like to present some structure, you will do it in hierarchy way. One more example of hierarchy presentation, and it is well-known Maslow pyramid. Actually, it was not Maslow who invented the pyramid, but Maslow just provided this categorization of human needs, but someone made it a pyramid, and now it is known like Maslow pyramid. So all pyramid-like data models belong to hierarchy type. This was a short overview of Ledge model, which stands for location, alphabet, time, category, and hierarchy. Each of its element itself can have various representations, and you can greatly improve your data reports by using this format of data visualization. You can start using visualization any moment, and telling the truth, you don't need to have any special skills for this. And I learned it from my own experience. And here I would like to describe a bit my learning drawing experience that I actually failed. Recently, when I realized my interest in visualization, I wished to be profound and effective in my learning, and found out a professional in drawing who can teach me. I met a well-known Ukrainian artist and got the first class of mastery from him, and for me it was a complete failure. I worked to depict a triangle for 2 hours. I was fully worn out of lines, facets and angles, as well as definitions, what is triangle, what is parallelogram, and what is the difference between these two figures. And I felt extremely glad when the class was over, and I became absolutely sure I will never be back to this temple of geometry, never and ever again. Actually, despite of this demotivating experience, I took a risk and made one more try to learn how to draw. I googled a bit over articles on facilitation, visualization and infographic, made a list of icons on a set of topics like meetings, events, people, emotions, engineering, the stuff that I deal mostly at work. After that, I found the simplest pictures of these icons and tried to copy it on paper, and more or less it worked. At least I was able to draw what I am to. So you don't need to go to some professionals to learn basic elements. Definitely I am very far from becoming a new Picasso, but I'm quite close to be able to draw a lamp or an envelope or a person. And by the way, even without any drawing skills, you can make your own graphical facilitation quite effective following very simple tips that I would like to share with you. And the first tip is write in capital letters the most important items of your speech. For instance, like the title of the event, or some very important words when you do graphical facilitation, when the team is sitting and you are near the board or flip chart and just making notes for them. It is also good when making notes to write in straight letters, because when your letters are aligned, left or right, when it is lean, left or right, it is very hard to read it then. And also it is good to write in plain letters without any curls. So you see here two examples of flip charts. The one is quite easy to read, and the other, even the person is using different colors on the other example, it is very hard to understand what is written on it. So when you make any drawing on flip chart on board, make sure that people will understand what you are writing on it. And you don't need any special skills for this. Also, when you do writing and you do it accurately, try to use different colors, because monocolor means monotonous. People can get tired of it. Use dark colors for general information and bright colors for highlighting, for something important, like titles, subtitles, maybe some time of the event that should happen next time, maybe some important notes by the team. Also use good formatting. Use bulletin. There are lots of examples of bulletin. You can also use, for instance, some elements to highlight the important notes. For instance, you use bulletin for several items in a list, and there is one item that is very important in this list, and you can mark it with the star. So next time when you look at your notes, you understand what you should focus on. Also outline some important elements and use margins. So when you start drawing on a flip chart, try to understand where your picture will be located on this flip chart. You should have a space around your picture so it looks accurately and you have enough space for your drawing then. Also, there are lots of graphical elements that are quite easy to draw. You can use banners for titles, and you can use different kind of arrows for connection to show different connections with events. And you can use also icons for animations. So you can create great flip charts just using very simple items, and there are lots of videos on YouTube how you can draw some easy items. And I would like to show you a video how to draw a banner for titles. Just give me a second because it takes time to switch from presentation to video and back. as you saw, it is quite easy to do it. Just to add some graphical facilitation to your meetings when you're taking notes, when you're like a Scrum Master taking notes on retrospective for your team. So it is very easy to make some picturized agendas or picturized meetings follow-ups. Let's go a bit further and talk about color coding. When you visualize data, keep in mind that not only a form or a structure is important, but also a color should be taken into account. And color coding is a good approach to do this. The color coding is the way for displaying information by using different colors. Color can be used to add additional or so-called meta information to the image. It can be an element of visual communication, the color itself, the same as graphical content. So what are the benefits of color coding? The first one is that color coding improves visual search over the image. With the help of color, it is easier for someone to look over some diagrams, to see the informational patterns that he or she is looking for and skip the rest of the graphic. You can use such approach when preparing diagrams and reports for different groups of stakeholders who is interested in particular metric, but should be informed about the general situation as well. In other words, you can prepare one document for many people, but mark with certain colors a part of the document for a certain person. It is very convenient. The same principle can be applied for mind maps creation, when each branch of a new concept can be colored differently. The second color coding benefit is that it defines similarity and difference. You can easily show what is different and what is similar with the help of color coding. The good example of it is a contact map. This kind of feature was available sometime in LinkedIn. Here it is. So here you see different groups of your contacts and see how these groups are interact with one another. The color also, the third benefit of color coding is providing attitudes and emotions. Color can influence our feelings and reactions, so consider this as well when brightening the color. The brighter the color, the most important information is shown. For example, green color is usually relates to something safe or health, while red is more about attention and danger. When you present information that you consider serious, it is better to use corresponding colors: dark blue, gray, dark red, or even black. Bright colors such as yellow, pink, light green are good to present something joyful and inspiring. Here is one more example. So it was a short overview of color coding. In this presentation, I'm trying to provide you general information of possibilities of visualization, and you can pick the one that you think is more convenient for you and that you think that you can learn it very easily. Infographic can combine all of these elements. And before we talk about a tool for infographic creation, I would like to say a few words about the infographic itself. Infographic, or is it also called informational graphics, is the way to visualize and compress representation of data. With the help of infographics, it is possible to communicate complex information in an easy for perception way. Infographics actually is not only about picturing, but about more convenient and understandable approach of data presentation. For example, on this slide, there is an infographic of Scrum framework, which encompasses also Deming cycle: plan, do, check, act. And Scrum activities like Scrum events, Scrum artifacts are mapped on this Deming cycle, so it is a combination of both and it can be easily perceived. There is a big deal of funny and humorous infographics, probably because when information is emotionally colored, it is remembered and perceived better. Elements of infographics represent key elements of the subject that is being described. It is good when there is a balance, like on this picture, when there is a balance between textual and graphical items on the picture. You can also see even infographics about infographics. There are also lots of infographics of this type. When you would like to create infographics, you can use definite tools for these. There are lots of it, and on this slide there are links to reviews of these tools, as well as other tools that can be in some way helpful when working with images. I have tried 4 or 5 tools and I have chosen the one that I liked, and I would like to show you the features of these tools. And I need to switch back again to my browser. Just give me a moment. I liked that tool for its simplicity and understandableness. There are more popular tools than the one that I have used, but I don't like that most of them have lots of advertising and some features are not free. For instance, when I try to use one tool, I have created some infographics and I would like to download these infographics, and I found out that this feature is not free, so there is no use for me of this tool, because my infographics can be only located inside this tool and I can't use it. So I will show you the tool that I more like enjoyed using. It is called Yazel, and there are certain features that I like of this tool. It has just a second. So it has lots of backgrounds that I like about it. You can see it when you scroll down. There is lots of backgrounds that you can use, and to use it you just need to click on the infographic that you like. For instance, I like this infographic and I can open it, and it becomes my own infographic. I can save it if necessary. For instance, I can write like my info, can save it and do whatever I like with this. Saving takes some time, definitely. It is probably not very convenient, but what also is not very convenient about this tool, that you need to make this saving manually. So one time you can forget about it and probably can lose something that you created. Also, this tool have lots of themes. Actually, it is the theme that we have watched through recently. For instance, this one. So it is ready-made infographics that you can create. And when I started create my own infographics, I took one of these infographics and started creating my infographics on it. But then, telling the truth, I have changed everything. So let's come back to our infographics that we have been using. There are also lots of backgrounds, and I found these backgrounds very interesting. For instance, this is this background, and I can make a green background. Here it is, and I can make brown background. And this background are with gradients. It is also very good looking. And also there are lots of objects that you can use for your infographics. There are animals category, there are banners category, but I don't like banners in this application. I don't think it looks nice, but just my personal opinion. Objects, banners, icons. Icons are quite interesting. For instance, since we spoiled this background a bit, we can choose another one. For this we can go home. We can leave this page and continue exploring different other infographics that were created probably by some other people. I like this one with fishes. So as you saw, there are good backgrounds, and there are different categories of objects like music, nature, people. And you can also, what is really good, you can also upload here some images that you like. You can add files to these infographics. When creating my infographics that I used for announcement of this webinar, I use, here it is, I think yes it is, I use diagrams from PowerPoint. So I created diagrams in PowerPoint and I'm just uploaded these diagrams into this tool, which is also quite convenient. What I also like about this tool, it have lots of fonts. For instance, title, and you can change this font. You can change the font itself, and you can change the color of the font. Here it is in green. And you can also make it a bit transparent. If you would like to put it on something or under something, you can change size of it. And everything of this is for free. There are also shapes. And you can also resize it, as well as fonts. What I don't like about it is charts. That is why I used PowerPoint charts, because these charts doesn't look very nice and doesn't have lots of customization. You can only make it a bit more transparent. You can change the position of the figures on your canvas. What you also can do with this tool, you can download what you created. Low quality it will be images, and high quality images, and you can download it also as a PDF. You can clear everything if you're tired of your infographics, and then you can go and see more infographics. So the main feature of this application is lots of templates. It is very helpful when you don't know what to do and how to start creating infographics. So you can watch what other people have created already and use it as a template for your own infographic. Also, I can recommend you to look through the internet to find out like 80 best infographics articles, or like 20 best infographics of this year or something like this, to see how good infographics look like. And then you can actually put this infographic you have found into this tool and customize it. Yes, you can open some visuals and you can save it. So I found this tool quite convenient to start with, and if you would like then to create more professional infographics, probably you should look to some non-free tools. They provide more possibilities, but they're not free. Before we start our question-answer session, I wish to show you also one more type of infographic, the interactive one. It shows dynamics over flights over Europe. It looks very nice and I think it is quite interesting. Just a second. So I hope you liked it. I liked it a lot. Okay, let's start our question answer session, and I hoped that I was able to provide you general picture of visualization approaches during this webinar. And if you would like to dig deeper in some approaches, you can do it. There is lots of information over the internet on each of these approaches, on ledge model, on color coding, on infographics. It is easy to create and it is very powerful tool, visualization, to make your daily work more exciting and to provide more understandable ways of information presentation to your colleagues, to your team members. Thank you all of you for participation, and I'm open for questions. I will read it on our chat aloud and provide answers. I will be also Glad to receive any feedback from you about this webinar. Okay, no answers by now. I will provide all the materials uploaded to some publicly available resources, and I provide links to these materials in webinar follow-up so you can download it. Okay, I don't see questions. So thank you everybody for participation, and I hope that I will see you again at my webinars and at the webinars of Agile Practice. Thank you everybody, have a good evening and goodbye.